Hey, it is Saturday, 11/28. We're almost to the end of the month. I'm going to put some more into Plazm, so I thought I'd show you that. This is just a Plazm video, but I will at least say that I earned, on Pip Logic, I earned 2.5% today. They made one trade on that day. I don't know if it's going to happen anymore today. It might, but it might not. They have some CME problems worldwide, and that's been verified with several different brokers. So they might hold off from trading just because of the weird volatility that they're getting from it. But anyway, this right here is from Plazm, and this is my first create. And it hasn't been quite a week yet, but it's showing me that I have 712 Plazm, and with the Plazm being at 172, it's worth $1.7 thousand. So what I did, I put Ethereum in my MetaMask wallet. It's a cold storage one, and then it came in as ETH on Ethereum chain. But then on MetaMask, they have a bridge, and so I bridged it to the base chain, which is what this one accepts. So right now I have 0.51 in Ethereum, and I want to put in $1,000 in staking, because staking shows 5.9, and if you go easy mode, it tells you what the one you'll make most money in. So I'm going to put 1,000 in this, and then put the other $500 I'm going to put in another create and earn. And this is nice because the easy mode, they'll actually do all the trading for you. Like if you stake, you have to go out and buy Plazm on DeFi and all that fun stuff. So the easy mode, they just do it for you, which is nice. So I got to figure out how much to put in there to make it just $1,000. And that would be right around 0.34. So I think I'll change this and make it to where it'll match my first create, which was right around $1,000 also. And then we'll see, kind of compare both of those and see how it works as far as which one comes out on top in 77 days. All right, so maxed 77.34, and I'm going to enter easy mode. Okay, so it looks like I'm going to stake 531 Plazm. I'm going to hit enter, or stake Plazm. Boom. Easy mode entry indicated. You've been allocated to stake. Alright, so it is staked, and I have, let's check my portfolio. It should show 2 positions. So now it added that $1,000 in there. Yep, active 2 positions. And so here's my stake Plazm and my created Plazm. And so now I'm going to put in more for creating. I'm going to put another one in for creating Plazm. So let's go over here and go to create. I'm going to max out what I have left, which is 0.17. That actually went up. When I bought it the first time, it was 3 something. So if you do the daily, it's 52% a day earning Plazm. So I'm going to go down here and do create. Okay, so I'm going to go with standard launch standard. I don't want to wrap it with NFT. Created Plazm successfully. Alright, so there's my third position, and I think I'll just keep it at that, about $2,500, and we will go several rounds of 77 days. So 2.6 thousand is what I put in as my cost. Right now it's 3,116, and we'll just watch this thing grow. You guys can watch it with me. Of course, if you want to get into something like this, there is a link in the description box below. Join my journey. Alright, so the rest of this video, I'm actually putting the first 3 tutorial videos on by CK, and it just kind of goes over the basics of Plazm and tells it a little better than I do as far as getting into this thing, because there's a lot behind this simple protocol. But if you want to do your own due diligence, the docs are right here. Just go under to the Plazm.io. My link below, just if you clicked on it, it'll bring you up onto this. And you can look at the docs, go over the docs, and then also watch these videos. So I will leave the rest to the AI tutorial videos. All right. Talk to you guys next week. Bye.
You ever look at a DeFi dashboard and just feel completely lost? Like you're trying to read another language? Well, in this explainer, we're going to cut right through all that noise. We're going to walk through my actual Plazm portfolio step by step, and I'll show you exactly how a pretty small investment grew into something much, much bigger. We're going to break down what every single number means. No buzzwords, no confusing jargon. Just a clear, straight-up look at the results. And you know what? Let's just start with the bottom line, because that's what really matters, right? On one side, you see the initial cost, $1,250, and on the other side, the current value over $21,000. That's the journey we're about to unpack. So, how did we get here? To understand that, we got to start with the basics. Let's look over on the left side of the dashboard at the vital signs, the system clock, and the current token prices. These are kind of the foundation for everything else. First up, you see this number, day 51. Now, this isn't just a date on the calendar. Think of it like the system's own internal clock. It's telling us we're 51 days into the current cycle, or what they call a season. It's basically a countdown timer for when the system's rules might get a little refresh. You know, the best way to visualize this is to imagine Plazm as a farm season. We're on day 51 of this particular season, there's a clock ticking, and when it hits the end, the rules for planting and harvesting get updated. It's a really simple but powerful way to think about how time works in the system. Right below that day counter, you see the prices for Plazm and eShare. And these are absolutely crucial. They are your direct link, your exchange rate, between the tokens inside this ecosystem and real-world money. These prices are what turn all the other numbers you see on this screen into a dollar value we can all understand. All right, now for the main event, those 6 big cards running right along the top. This is the bird's eye view of my entire Plazm strategy. We're going to start with the first 2, which are all about how the farm gets planted in the first place. So this first card says total positions 44. What does that mean? Simple. It means I have 44 separate investments, all running at the same time right here in the Plazm ecosystem. And right now, every single one of them is active and working for me. And this is where our little farm analogy really comes in handy. Think of each one of those 44 positions as its own separate plot of land. So right now, I have 44 different plots planted, and they're all in the growing phase. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, now the most important word on this next card is created. It shows 311.79 Plazm. This is brand new Plazm that the system has literally generated across all my positions. This isn't what I bought. This is what the farm has grown from those first seeds I planted. Okay, so we've planted the seeds, we've seen them sprout and create new tokens. Now what? Let's move on to the next set of cards and see how this farm actually produces its value through staking and the overall yield. This card shows nearly 119 Plazm as being staked. So all this means is that I've locked up a portion of my Plazm into special staking positions, and these tokens are doing 2 jobs at once. They're helping keep the network secure, and at the same time, they're earning me passive rewards day in and day out. So to keep our analogy going, it's kind of like I took about 119 of my seeds and locked them away in a super secure vault. And while they're in there, they're multiplying, just a little bit, every single day. I can't touch them right now, but I don't have to. They're working for me 24/7. And here it is. This is the payoff for all that activity. Yield earned, showing 6,840 Plazm. This is the total harvest so far. It's the combined output from both my create positions, the plots of land, and my stake positions, the seeds in the vault. This is the total new value my strategy has generated.
So we know how much my farm has produced, but how does that fit into the bigger picture? Let's move on and talk about total ownership and what it means to have a slice of the overall pie.
Now, this card shows my total Plazm, but the number I really want you to focus on is ownership, 0.02445%.
I know. It looks like a tiny number, but trust me, it's incredibly important. It represents my exact share of the entire participating pool within the Plazm system.
Now, sometimes on these dashboards, you'll see these huge, confusing numbers for shares. Don't let it throw you off. The concept is actually super simple. Just think of shares as reward tickets. The more tickets you hold compared to everybody else, the bigger your cut of the daily rewards is going to be. That's really all there is to it.
And this analogy just makes it perfectly clear. Picture the entire Plazm engine as one giant pizza. My share simply means I own a 0.02445% slice of that whole pizza. The big share numbers, that's just the behind-the-scenes math that calculates exactly how big my slice is compared to everyone else's. Okay, we have covered all the mechanics, all the moving parts. Now we arrive at the final card. And let's be honest, for any investor, this is the one that really truly matters, the bottom line. Let's talk cost, value, and that incredible 16x return.
It all started right here. The cost side shows the total amount of money I put in to get this all going, $1,250. That was my initial capital.
And today, the value of those exact same positions, based on those token prices we looked at earlier, is now sitting at $21,450. Yeah, that's a very significant increase from where we started.
And that brings us to the most powerful number on the screen, an ROI of over 1,600%. Just let that sink in for a second. That is a 16x return on my initial investment. Every single dollar I put in has turned into 16.
So how did this happen? It wasn't just luck. It's really the result of three core things working together. A system that's fed by real yield, which means it's making money from outside sources, a token price that has stayed pretty stable, and really smart tokenomics that are designed to push value back to the people holding on for the long term.
So, now you know the what every number on this dashboard means. And you know the why, the 16x return it's managed to generate so far. But this leaves the most important question of all unanswered: the how. How exactly did I structure those 44 plots of land? Which ones are high risk and which ones are my long-term savers? We'll break all of that down in part 2.
All right, so in part 1, we looked at the insane top-line numbers for this Plazm portfolio. We saw how it turned a little over $1,000 into more than $20,000 on paper. Incredible, right? But how? How did that actually happen? Let's dig in.
Yeah, this is the big one. 1,600% ROI. It's the kind of number that makes you do a double take. But here's the thing about these big, flashy numbers. They never, ever tell the full story.
So let's really get into it. Where did this massive gain actually come from? Because it's one thing to see a big number on a screen, but it's a whole other thing to understand the engine behind it. And that's exactly what we're going to break down right now.
Okay, so if you scroll down this dashboard, you hit the strategy breakdown. This is the good stuff. This is where we see the two core engines that are making all this happen. You can almost think of it like a company with two completely different departments, each doing its own thing.
First up, we've got creates. The easiest way to wrap your head around this is to picture a bunch of factories. Seriously, these things are just cranking out brand new Plazm tokens 24/7. This is the production line, the manufacturing arm of the whole operation.
And then engine number 2 is stakes. So if creates are the factories, stakes are the company vaults. This is where you take the Plazm you already have, lock it up, and let it earn interest. It's not about making new stuff, it's about making what you have grow.
All right, so let's pop the hood on that first engine. Let's really put these Plazm factories under the microscope and see what they're made of.
So, get this. There are 35 of these create positions. That's like having 35 little machines all whirring away on the factory floor, all minting new tokens at the same time.
So, what have all these factories actually produced? Well, across all 35 of them, they've turned out a total yield of about 6,500 Plazm. That is a huge harvest from our little manufacturing department.
Now let's talk money. To get all 35 of those factories up and running, the total cost was just under $880. But today, the on-paper value of what they've produced is over $20,000. Yeah, you heard that right. And that brings us to the absolutely mind-blowing ROI for just the factories, over 2,200%. That's a 22x return, just from this one part of the strategy. Wild.
So, the takeaway here is pretty brutal and simple.
The Create engine, the factories, is doing pretty much all of the heavy lifting. This is where the lion's share of the profit is coming from.
Okay, so now let's shift gears and look at engine number 2, the Plazm vaults, our stakes column. Time to check in on the Treasury Department and see how they're doing.
All right, so we can see we've got 9 of these staking positions or vaults. You can imagine these are all different lockup times, different amounts of Plazm stashed inside. And the yield from these vaults? Well, so far they've kicked out just under 295 Plazm in rewards. Now that's not nothing, it's helpful, but you can already see we're playing in a completely different ballpark compared to the factories.
And financially, about $373 went into these vaults. Today, that investment has grown to just over $1,200. So that gives us an ROI for the staking side of things of around 227%. Look, a 3.2x return is fantastic. You take that any day of the week, but it just gets dwarfed by the 22x we saw from the factories.
And this really spells out the role of the vaults perfectly. They're the slow and steady part of the portfolio. They've done great, more than tripled the initial cash, but they are absolutely not the main growth driver here. Not even close.
Okay, time for the showdown. Let's put these 2 engines right next to each other. This is going to make it crystal clear where all the action is.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this table and the story just tells itself, doesn't it? The Creates engine, the factories, took less than $900 and turned it into over 20 grand with that insane 2200% ROI. The Stakes engine did fine. It was profitable, but it's a totally different league. The factories are the undeniable star of this show.
But this is where we have to slam on the brakes. We need a serious, brutal reality check. It is so easy to get hypnotized by big green numbers on a screen. But you gotta remember, they don't exist in a bubble.
These numbers look incredible right now, but the whole thing is fragile. The whole system can break. What happens if the real yield, the actual revenue coming into the protocol, dries up? Well, the factories shut down and the vaults stop paying interest. And what if the token price just completely dumps? All these dollar values, they just evaporate, even if your token count is the same.
So when you see a dashboard like this, you have to force yourself to look past that shiny ROI and start asking the really hard questions. First one, and it's the most important, where's the real external money coming from to pay for all this?
Second, you've got to dig deep into the tokenomics. You have to ask, are the burns and buybacks, the things that are supposed to reduce the supply, are they actually strong enough to fight back against all the new tokens being printed by the factories? Or are you just getting inflated away?
And finally, this is the most ruthless question you have to ask yourself. Is there real demand for this thing? Or are you just the exit liquidity for somebody else who got in way earlier than you? Because until you have solid answers to these questions, a 16x screenshot is just that, a screenshot.
All right, in our last chat, I kind of left you hanging with a really tough question. It's a question that honestly gets to the very core of pretty much every DeFi project out there. And it's the one question you absolutely have to ask yourself before you get too excited about those big green numbers. And here it is. Are these buy-in burns going to be enough, or are we just exit liquidity? I'm telling you, this is the only question that truly matters. Because look, if the answer is that we're just someone else's exit liquidity, well then all those fancy charts, all those impressive screenshots you see, they're totally meaningless. So today, we're not going to dance around it. We're going to tackle that question head on. Okay, so let's break this down. What in the world does exit liquidity even mean? It sounds complicated, but it's actually super simple. Think of it like this. You're the person showing up to a party just as everyone else is leaving. Your fresh cash is basically the getaway car for the early birds, letting them cash out their profits. It all happens in a closed system where no real money is actually flowing in from the outside. And listen, if you've been around the block in DeFi, this whole playbook is going to sound, well, painfully familiar, right? Step 1, a project just mints a new token from nothing. Step 2, they pay you yield, but it's just more of that same token they printed. All that does is crank up the supply. Step 3, the OGs, the early holders, they see what's coming and they start dumping their massive bags on all the new hopeful people. And then step 4, poof, the whole thing collapses. It's a story we've seen a million times. So this brings us to the real test, the one question that separates a legit project from that playbook. And it's this: is new, real value actually coming into the system from the outside? Is there real revenue being generated somewhere, or are we all just, passing the same hot potato around, waiting for the music to stop? And this This is Plazm's answer to that exact problem. It's what they call the real yield engine. See, the idea is to take capital and put it to work in external platforms, things that generate revenue completely outside of the Plazm bubble. Think of stuff like DEXI bonds, which could be earning fees from real-world business, right? And then, the key part, that profit, that external cash is piped right back into the Plazm ecosystem. So you can see, this is a night and day difference. The old way? It's all smoke and mirrors. You're just printing tokens to pretend there's yield. It's basically a shell game happening inside a closed box. But the Plazm way is totally different. It's set up to work like an actual business. It goes out, earns real profit in real dollars, like USDC, from outside activity, and then brings that profit home to the people who own the system. And you know what? This changes everything. When the yield you're getting is fueled by actual genuine external revenue, your entire role in the system just flips. You're no longer just a speculator, just some degen hoping to dump your bag on the next guy for a higher price. No, you become a co-owner. You're getting a slice of the profits from a real cash-generating business. So what actually happens with all that external profit? This is where it gets really interesting. A chunk of that USDC goes right out onto the open market to buy up the protocol's own token, XPL. And then, and this is the most important part, those tokens that were just bought, they get burned. Poof, gone, permanently deleted from the supply. This isn't printing more money, it's literally the opposite. And what does that do? Well, it creates this awesome effect called a supply squeeze. Every time the real yield engine does a buy and burn, the total number of XPL tokens in existence shrinks. Now, if you're holding on to your tokens, your stack doesn't shrink, right? Which means your slice of the total pie automatically gets bigger. You own more of the network without doing a thing. So yeah, this is exactly why the whole system is built to benefit long-term holders. The supply is constantly being squeezed down. Your piece of the pie just keeps growing with every single burn. And it's not inflationary dilution. It's the complete opposite. It's like a deflationary pressure cooker, and it's designed from the ground up to reward the people who stay put. But wait, that's only part one of the strategy. Plazm stacks a second engine right on top of the buybacks, and it's called time-squared staking. Just look at that formula for a second. Your power to earn rewards isn't just about how much you stake, it's multiplied by the time you lock squared. That little squared at the end, that's the secret sauce. That's what makes it exponential. And what this does is create this absolutely wild dynamic. The system is designed to basically punish the short-term guys, the farm and dumpers. They get crumbs. Meanwhile, it just showers rewards on the people who commit for the long haul. The rewards for a long-term staker are so much bigger, it's almost not fair. It's literally designed to suck value away from the impatient people and give it to the patient ones. And this brings us full circle and completely flips our original question on its head. When you combine these two engines, the buybacks making your slice of the pie bigger, and the time-squared staking rewarding your loyalty, the whole game changes. On Plazm, it's the short-term flippers who are actually providing the exit liquidity for the long-term holders. The roles are completely reversed. Okay, so does this mean it's a sure thing, a guaranteed win? No, absolutely not. Let's be real here. This entire engine only works if three key conditions are met. First, the real yield has to actually stay real. The profits must come from outside the system. Second, the supply has to stay ticked. The burns need to be bigger than or at least equal to any new tokens being created. And third, you have to play the long game. You have to use the tools the system gives you. This really lays out two completely different paths forward. Path one, if those conditions hold, you get this beautiful virtuous cycle. External money flows in, the token supply gets squeezed, and your personal stack represents a bigger and bigger piece of the network. But there's a path two. If those conditions fail, if the real yield dies out, or emissions just go crazy, then yes, the tables can turn, and you could absolutely become the exit liquidity. The system is powerful for sure, but it isn't magic. So let's go back to our big question. Are the buy and burns enough? Well, with a setup like this, yeah, they can be. But you have to understand, the system isn't for everyone. It's specifically designed to reward a certain type of person. It forces you to change your mindset. This isn't a casino for making a quick buck. It's an engine built to reward ownership. And at the end of the day, deciding which side of that engine you want to be on, well, that choice is entirely up to you.